It started with a leaky faucet, or maybe a clogged drain. Small, everyday inconveniences that no one ever thought twice about. But in Ridgeway, those plumbing problems were more than just bad luck. They were a warning. Because soon after calling for help, the homeowners would disappear. And when their bodies were found, the way they died was as horrifying as the pattern that tied them together. Detectives were baffled. The victims had no apparent connections, different backgrounds, different social circles, different professions. But the brutality of the murders suggested something deeply personal. One body was found in a bathtub, the water tinged red. Another in a basement, their limbs twisted unnaturally, the floor slick with something other than water. It wasn't until the fourth victim was discovered, gasping for breath with a plastic tubing wrapped around their throat, that the police realized this was no coincidence. Someone was hunting them methodically and mercilessly. The town of Ridgeway fell into a panic. Who would be next? Why were these people being targeted? The only clue left behind at each crime scene was the state of their homes. Pipes burst, drains clogged, gas lines mysteriously leaking. It was as if their own houses had betrayed them, drawing them into their deaths. The media dubbed the killer the Pipe Killer, a name that sent chills through every household in town. As the investigation deepened, detectives sifted through hours of security footage, financial records, and phone logs. There was only one common thread between the victims. Each had recently hired a plumber, but Ridgeway had more than a dozen working plumbers. The list of suspects was too broad, and the killer too careful. Then came the break in the case. An elderly woman named Margaret Dunn survived an attack. She had called for help when her basement flooded in the middle of the night, and within hours, a man had arrived to fix it. But something felt off. The way he lingered, the way his gaze lingered just a second too long. When she turned to fetch him a drink, she caught a glimpse of his reflection in the window. His eyes, cold, familiar. And then she remembered. Years ago, she had seen those same eyes in a courtroom, filled with rage and devastation. The trial of Jacob Graves had been a harrowing one, but Margaret never forgot the younger brother sitting silently in the back row, watching every juror with burning intensity. The police moved quickly, tracing back every service call, every house visit. The truth unraveled in horrifying detail. Ethan Graves had been hiding in plain sight. The town's most trusted plumber. The man who had spent years fixing their homes was the same man who had spent years orchestrating their deaths. And the victims? They weren't random. They were the jury members who had sentenced his brother to death for a crime he didn't commit. Ethan had planned his revenge with meticulous precision. He studied each juror's routine, their habits, and, most importantly, their plumbing. Under the guise of routine service calls, he would discreetly sabotage their pipes. A loose fitting here, a hidden blockage there. Within days, they'd have no choice but to call a plumber. And when they did, Ethan was the one who showed up at their door, a friendly smile hiding the monster underneath. His kills were as gruesome as they were poetic. The town was horrified, the pattern too chilling to ignore. Yet no one had suspected Ethan, not the charming, mild-mannered plumber who had worked on half the homes in Ridgeway. When police finally stormed his house, they found more than just tools and blueprints. They found the list. Names, addresses, photos, every detail mapped out like a blueprint for murder. He was arrested on the spot, but he didn't fight. He didn't run. He only smiled. "They sentenced an innocent man to death," he said. "I just returned the favor." The town of Ridgeway would never forget the horrors inflicted by the Pipe Killer. But the biggest question remained. Was Ethan a cold-blooded monster? Or was he simply delivering justice in the only way he knew how?